there, and welcome to another Heal Your Shadow. We have got some movement with Lilith. So, from the beginning of October, so October 4, through until June next year, we will be dealing with Lilith in Virgo. So, this is that dark feminine energy, the exiled feminine sexuality entering Virgo, the sacred temple of the feminine, the sacred temple of the body and its boundaries, and this realm of perfection and judgment and critical thinking. And it's going to cause a lot of cynical thoughts because of the times where we were logical without emotion, because of the times when we wanted to be perfect, but we had a strong drive to live up to other people's expectations. This is the sort of energy that Lilith in Virgo is going to bring up, okay? And she wants to know, how are we going to fight back? How are we fighting back against this energy and standing up for ourselves, okay? Our true inner selves. This is what Lilith wants. She's of the darkness. She is the void. She brings up the darkness in us so that we can see it and love it and push it out into the world, okay? So this is that energy of, you are someone who is creative, okay? You are someone who exists on a creative plane, and you've had to go into perhaps something that you felt like you've sold your soul for. That idea of being the creative who wants to exist and flow with the universe. But of course, we need the finances and the financial abundance in the material world, because that is what this plane of existence is. And so where we have perhaps given away parts of ourselves in order to be a part of that, we are going to be looking at that. We are going to be getting very fired up about where we have been underpaid, overworked, this sort of energy, okay? And on the same line in the world, we are really going to see things like gender identity, reproductive rights, sexual expression, and like how society has told us and showed us that these have been threats to society. And people who are a little bit more comfortable in their sexuality, in their sexual expression, and where they have potentially used their soul as a tool for capitalism, okay? So again, that idea of like having that spiritual mentality, that being in touch with the dark feminine, that understanding your sexuality and all of that, but where you've been like sold into like bondage or sold a fraction of your worth in order to appear successful, like where we have compromised our divine gifts for public consumption. Nobody is free of this energy, not even me. So I'm going to be working through it with you. I am going to be putting together a little workbook, which is very similar to how I deal with these energies. And Lilith is a dark one. So get comfortable being uncomfortable. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Tower moments, which are like disruptive, life-changing moments. Ego deaths, dark night of the soul. That is how we ascend to a new level of understanding, and that is how we transform this darkness inside of us, okay? So we can do it together. So at the moment, there is Saturn is in Pisces, okay, and currently in retrograde. And so it's inspiring these conversations coming up, as you can see in the whole, in the world, in the collective, these conversations about boundaries and, am I going too far? Is that going too far? Like these boundaries, okay? And we need to be careful because a lot of these boundaries were put in place back in, the midst of the age of Pisces. And being that we are moving into the age of Aquarius, we are in the transition period right now. it's a somewhat diluted wisdom that we are dealing with. And so you can start to see people on either side of the fence here who think they are correct. And it's this idea of when we are trying to cross these social boundaries, we're being condemned. We're being pushed back and saying, no, 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 I am the freedom fighter. This is how you fight that energy. And I think a really good example right now in particular is how we are dealing with this idea of the feminine energy and the masculine energy needing to be balanced, okay? And it's this, we've come from this place of feminism, which I am finding hard at the moment to connect to this idea of feminism. And I do like to say more of that I am someone who is a fighter of equality of opportunity across genders rather than feminist, just because of what I'm about to say next. I'm starting to feel a little disconnected from it. I think, this older feminist ideal, which I used to be part of, so I do understand it. And I'm not saying that taking that path to learn about yourself and to be in that place of fiery rage is wrong, but I think that we are now in this transition period. We have to open our minds a little bit more. And so I think this idea of where we are currently being told that we can't cross a social boundary because we'll be condemned, the sort of ideas that Lilith is going to bring up is these two conflicting ideals of feminism, I think. And this idea of feminists fighting back against toxic masculinity, which if you've seen any of my videos, I don't even believe in that statement. Masculine energy can present in toxic behaviors. Feminine energy can present in toxic behaviors. Neither is toxic. Neither energy is toxic on its own, but unbalanced, it can present in toxic behaviors. Both sides do it, okay? There is an equality across that, definitely. All right. And so it's this idea of that toxic masculinity and that the thought process behind that coming from perhaps kind of like an illogical place where, you've come into feminism as a young woman, but you haven't seen where the fight has come from. And so you come in with this sense of privilege because you are a woman, you do present in your feminine. And so because of that all of the masculines that surround you need to bow down, need to give you everything, that you do not need to take responsibility for yourself because of the way of the world, because we still live in a place where there is institutionalized misogyny. And so these are the sort of things that I'm talking about where we need to push up against these boundaries. So there is this new energy in the evolving feminines that are coming out, that are stepping into their divine feminine energy, that are starting to understand the poison in that mentality and starting to see that where we once thought there was an imbalance, it's starting to imbalance the other way. And not that I'm saying that people in their feminine energy, that women are getting more privileges and that we're moving into matriarchy. No, just that the feminine energy inside of that thought process is very unbalanced and it doesn't have any access to the masculine energy to balance it out. And so because of that, it's creating this, it's like that schoolgirl bitching mentality, right? It's that idea of not being able to speak your truth, not being able to initiate forward movement for change, because that is masculine energy. And so it's only when we can balance these energies of emotion, intuition, the feminine energy side, with the masculine energy of action, initiative, moving forward, taking self-responsibility. Once they're balanced, we can sort of see where the issues are on either side. But until we do that, we're very kind of one-sided, and I have been in that place. And so the ideas that Lilith is going to bring up around this diluted wisdom that we are trusting in are these outdated ideas of feminism. And she's really going to ask you to see not only your own self-betrayal, but also how you chose to participate in and how you participated in the harm of others, in collective harm mentalities, and also asking us to take responsibility for it. I will be sitting in a place of looking back at this man-hater feminist mentality that I used to sit in, and I am going to be facing some of those demons. And I'm going to be looking at how that affected other people, how that affected me, how that affected the way that I built relationships, and how it blocked me from my own abundance. And that's not easy. Like, I'm sitting here with a smile on my face talking about it, but it's not easy to face yourself like that. It's very difficult. And this idea of, like, when we were in that space, that the pain that we would have been feeling for betraying ourselves and others, the pain of others, how we forced that down for the sake of being productive or the sake of being seen as a perfectionist. So specifically, again, looking back at that feminist attitude as one of the ideals that we will be dealing with, you know, the way that we may have been somewhat man-hater in an effort to appear like we were the perfect feminist, and how that has negatively affected the world, okay? And it's going to really question our part in it, and we're going to have to open up and be very honest about it. And so in this place of being in the Virgo energy, it's about feeling the rage in your body. I am a Virgo, so this is going to be this part will be a little bit easier for me, but it is about feeling the rage in your body and letting it explode out of you. Okay, so sweating it out, punching it out, running it out, and not making it beautiful. Not making the rage that you are going to feel towards yourself, not making it beautiful. Allowing your body to feel it and let it explode, however that is. Screaming, singing, dancing, lifting weights, however it looks. You might be a sweating, crying mess on the floor after you run 5 kilometers in a headspace thinking about it, okay? And it's not about allowing other people to see you work through it in a beautiful way. It is about giving yourself permission to look like a mess while you deal with this, okay? And so if we can embrace this idea, all of these ideals that this Lilith in Virgo placement is going to come up, if we can claim responsibility for the part that we have played in the past, where we can confront others for the part that they have played also, then, you know, if we can really step up to our current worth in the present day and be present, that's very important, because when we are looking back at these things and trying to take responsibility for them, we cannot attach to them in the present, because the way that we are able to look at them is because we are in the present body of awareness of these things. And so things we can't change from the past, we need to take that on now and feel it in the present, not attach to it, but release it. Okay. And so it's like finding your worth in this space, in this present moment, sitting in it comfortably and confidently, so that you can take responsibility for these things without letting them attach to your soul. Okay. And, you know, it's going to teach us. So some of the things that we would have learned in the past, in that negative mentality, in that not wanting to cross those boundaries, is that fight, okay? Is that standing up for ourselves. But what we do now with that energy in the present moment is we realize that we have the power in us to fight if someone tells us, no, be quiet, you're wrong. But that power comes from taking responsibility of what we did in the past, of how we betrayed ourselves in the past, of how we took steps to betray others in the past in relation to trying to seem productive and perfectionist and to stay within these ideals of society, of the mother energy, of the father energies around us, that we wanted to look like we were the good girls and boys, and how that betrayed ourselves and how that betrayal betrayed others. How we projected that betrayal, how we allowed that to criticize ourselves to a point that we didn't know who we were anymore, or to criticize ourselves to a point that we repressed so much that we projected that critical energy onto others, and how that has affected their lives, our lives, and the collective balance. And so it's taking responsibility for that, finding your power in this present moment to know that if you need to fight, you can, because your belief in your own values, in your own self, is an honest one, and it is not filtered for the sake of anybody's pleasure. So we are going to be done acting perfect to win approval. By the end of this, in June next year, that is what we are aiming for. And we will be free and real and ready to stand in our power. That is what this Lilith in Virgo journey is about. So I will be doing weekly videos on the movement of Lilith throughout the week, the aspects that she is making, and it will guide us through these thought processes. And I will be putting together like just a little diary, like a self-questioning process that we can go through in order to really look at these wounds, these shames, these guilts, these places of misunderstanding, a lot of which inside of our own selves, and how we can heal through those and take self-responsibility so that our power comes from a truth. And when your power comes from an authentic truth inside of yourself, particularly when we are dealing with Lilith, the dark feminine energy, the dark space inside of us, when your power comes from there, the confidence that you have is real and you cannot be stopped. So I will be posting another video later today about the movement of Lilith this week, so follow along, and I will be putting up some worksheets on my Patreon and also on my website if you would like to join us on the journey. Until then, stay weird.